Wow, we have 51 people that said they're going to attend on this one page.
Yeah,
And we let's see.
I think we got quite a few on the other page too. I've been inviting everybody I know in our industry.
Very cool. Well, we're supposed to be going live now, but it's just on this one page. Awesome. So it's about 20 seconds delay on this here.
Hmm.
And so I'm just starting a new system, a service for LinkedIn Lives.
Ooh.
And so that's pretty exciting. I didn't have the stamp on this one. I'll start doing it, after the next couple of weeks. But one of the things is that I had to do a LinkedIn event to capture the email and
Hmm.
then do a LinkedIn Live. And now we can just do the LinkedIn Live and then capture the information on the people on the live by itself. So you don't have too many different places.
Oh, that's great.
And I have a system now that helps remind people, and it helps boost the just the level of interest in
Hmm.
there. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's got to be nice to
Um,
take all the toil out of that.
yeah, a lot of those things are just about creating a system that kind of makes sense. And it's not too complicated, and you're actually speaking to the person, and the person is already interested in some of the things that you're doing here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we are live, and so today we have. How do you pronounce your name? I say Copenspire, right?
Copenspire.
Yeah, that's what I thought I said. Copenspire. Okay, great. And we met a few months ago, and one thing that we share in common is how do we communicate in a way that we're authentic so people understand that we're people. And you and I are obviously, we look a lot different. We have a different voice and all that stuff. But people want to know that you're there to communicate with them and not trying to sell them, not trying to get something for them. And I have a couple of my own methods and stuff like that. But I'm really excited to have you, Chuck, and I appreciate you coming on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into this today, especially as I get more and more cold DMs from people on LinkedIn every day. We need to teach them a better way.
Yeah, so I put a little bit about you here, and you're the anti-professional sales coach,
Mhm.
right? So what does the anti-professional mean?
So, anti-professional to me means dismantling a lot of the things that expect business people to all be the same. We know that there are so many different types of people with so many talents and backgrounds that have a lot to add to the business space. And I'd like to see us start to expand our concept of professionalism by breaking down the old concepts, such as you can't have colored hair, you can't have tattoos. Those are the most basic ones. But there's also things where friends of mine who have names have to change their names on their resume because people think that they won't click on names that don't what's the word? I'm trying to use language without alienating anyone, but the simplest way to put it is that there are people who have built the systems of business that have made
Hmm.
it very hard for people from different cultural backgrounds, different life experiences to participate in business. And I would like to break that down and open the doors for everyone to participate in business.
Yeah, so you kind of want to break down the barriers and then provide an opportunity for the right people to connect with the right individuals. And I think everyone has their own form of, I wouldn't say, yeah, I think we all have a little level of prejudice, being prejudging because you're accustomed to certain things and stuff. And I think awareness is a big deal for that. We were speaking earlier, and you're telling me during this little bit of information that we have here, I don't have slam poetry in there. You said
Mhm.
you told me that you're doing slam poetry, and I was like, "What? What is that?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, you can make a really good living doing that." And I'm like, "Get out of here!" So tell me a little bit about that. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I got involved with an organization called Power to the Poetry, and we did a TED talk about slam poetry. We did after school programs. We've been hired to speak at colleges, and I was telling you, I've been paid $1,000 for 3 minutes of poetry. Like, if you get yourself positioned in the right way as a creative business person who does something really well, people will pay you a lot for it.
Wow.
And
I
yeah.
got paid a few $1,000s for a speaking gig, but I had to prep,
Oh,
and
we
it
prep.
wasn't 3 minutes at all. So, yeah, yeah. So excellent. Well. Now I know a little more about you. Um, and so I
Yeah.
want to talk about some of the topics today. And I think we have kind of three areas. I know you have your own notes, but I know that you want to talk about feeling confident and being yourself in your messaging. And we'll talk about what messaging really means and what platform and kind of the logistics of that. And then um, the ask is equal to what the relationship is. And that's something I'm really big on.
Mhm.
Don't be asking crazy stuff if you don't know the person, you know? So the ask has to be equal to the relationship. And talk a little bit about automation and lead management. The pluses and minuses, and probably some of the things that we can do to kind of maybe use both or be purely personalized for particular industries and particular reasons and stuff.
Mhm.
So how do you get that confidence? That's what I want to understand.
Well, I guess to share a bit of my background, I used to have crippling social anxiety. Like, if
Oh,
I saw someone I knew at school, I would like turn the other direction and like walk away. I was just really uncomfortable being around other people for a long time. And I actually got into improv comedy in my early 20s. And through doing improv comedy, I realized that if you mess up, usually nobody notices and also nobody cares. So
mm,
I would say
yeah.
get used to finding places where you can experiment and
Mhm.
experiment with things that you don't know are going to work and realize that you're going to survive that. And I always say you should microdose these things. So microdose failure, microdose
Mhm.
risk, microdose just public performance. That's why I host open mics, is so that people can come and through my workshops learn how to write even a haiku and then perform a 3-line poem in front of people because maybe that's their first
Is that what a
experience.
haiku is?
Yep,
A
it's
very
a
short poem? Okay.
very, very short.
Sorry, I'm
Um,
ignorant on a lot of this stuff.
that's great. Yeah, and a haiku doesn't even have to rhyme. It's really just describing a moment. And
Um,
so it's like such a low barrier and it's over before you know it. And so if you start really small, and maybe for some people I work with, they're not comfortable putting their face on the internet, that's fine. The power of your words is also great. It does well on LinkedIn, it does well on Twitter, it does well on blogs. You do not have to put yourself out there for the jaws of the internet to chew up and spit out if you don't want to. Just whatever feels comfortable for you, find that baby step and then take another one tomorrow. That's all you can really do to build that confidence.
yeah, I was going to show the chat, but my chat and the chat is not showing here. But we got a LinkedIn user saying, yeah, they also have social anxiety. Can you
Mhm.
see that, Chuck?
Yes. Mhm.
They just changed this format. So I'm like, new buttons,
Mhm.
you know. And as far as saying things that making mistakes and things like that, uh, I make mistakes all the time, but I think the important thing is to keep on going because to make a mistake is to be human.
Mhm.
And to be human is to be relatable to other people.
Mhm.
I think certain people get sick of those pitch perfect individuals, and they're so sharp and they're so perfect at everything and stuff like that. And sometimes I think it's kind of hard to relate to
Mhm.
some of those, individuals. So you see these movies and you see Brad Pitt say his line, and you say, "I'll never be as good looking as him," or say the things. I said, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It really doesn't matter because someone's gonna like you for actually being that authentic you. In
And
that moment.
And 90% of my clients come to me because I have lived experience as a disabled person. I have lived experience as an autistic person, as a parent. And so I understand their unique challenges because I have lived experience with those challenges. So if I didn't talk about, like, one of my most popular posts I ever made was that millionaire morning routines don't work for disabled parents. And that's okay, and I talked about, here's my morning routine, how I take care of my body before I do my work, and
Mm,
it looks very different from cold showers and 50 push-ups and all that. So I think
yeah.
the biggest thing that drives me is that marketing and sales advice and business advice is not one size fits all, but I feel like so much of the narrative is all targeted at like single young childless men, and there's so many
Mhm.
more of us in business and we need solutions for
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people.
I'm also a single father.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm trying the cold showers, but I'm finding that if you're not like 100%, like you got a little cold or something,
Mhm.
like, don't do it, man, because you'll get really sick, you know. And
Mhm.
I do the push-ups and I exercise in the morning. So my routine is probably different than yours
Mhm.
when I take care of my daughter. But I have to plan around my daughter. She's 6 years old, and so I have to get at 5 in the morning, do my exercise, and take care of her. Sometimes give her a bath in the morning, sometimes in the evening or whatever, and make sure she's good to go and drive her to school, and
Mhm.
then make sure the after school program, making sure her homework gets done. And so I schedule my life around that. And to be honest with you, it was hard.
Mhm.
I am not a morning person. I'm the person that wakes up at 9 or 10 and I work through the night, you
Yeah.
know, and that was my normal routine. I had to force myself to do that. I think my next challenge is to start working out more
Mhm.
because I'm in kind of good shape, but you know what I mean. So I gotta kind of push that effort over there. Well, what are some of the things that you do for your morning routine, and why would they be different than mine?
Well, I think, similar to you, it is really based on when my daughter wakes up. And I would say on top of that, with my chronic fatigue disorder, some days I do get up and work out, and some
Mhm.
days I don't. And I have to let that be okay. And I'm not going to beat myself up and tell myself that I can't succeed or I'm never going to grow, because some days I'm too tired. And that's
Mhm.
part of why I have created so much automation in my business and shared my automation with other people. Is for many of us with chronic fatigue issues, I need my business to run even if I have a day where I can't function.
Mhm.
And I shouldn't be excluded from being a successful business person because of my chronic fatigue disorder, and neither should anyone else.
Yeah, so you're kind of putting out some of the work to your teams so it can function
Mhm.
without you, if you know, without you being there every single day. And that's one of the things about being a solopreneur. People think that I got to do everything,
Mhm.
and that is totally not true. Of course, you want to be um, understanding and aware of what needs to happen. You want to create procedures in
Mhm.
place, but there's a lot of repeatable tasks, or tasks can be handed out. And then
Right.
maybe they can come back to you and you can do a little tweak,
Mhm.
like content. Um, I still do the vast majority of my video posts, right? But I love it. I love doing
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I have a strict timing mechanism, and so if I can't develop this cool video in 30 minutes, I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
I have 30, and then I have 15 minutes to review the content coming back from my assistant, to make sure it's Troy speaking.
Mhm.
So they can get the gist of the information from whatever content's going on. But you have to reduce that ability, no, reduce the time requirement to get the quality of work or communication outwards.
And I think honestly, I'm sure many entrepreneurs are familiar with the concept of like, what are you good enough at that you should be doing, and what are you slow enough at that you need to outsource it? Like, I
Mhm.
have a person who I'm training to do through all of my automation for graphics processes, because he's $25 an hour and
Mhm.
he just graduated college and he's super excited and he's got all this energy. Love that for him. Um,
Mhm.
I'm 10 years in,
Mhm.
I'm $150 an hour, and I need to be doing $150 an hour tasks, not
Mhm.
$25 an hour tasks.
Mhm.
Um,
So just because you can do something doesn't mean you should always do it. I mean,
No, you
Who
can't
wants
scale
to? I know that you're younger than me, definitely,
that. Mhm.
but I know that at my age, I'm not doing 90 hours a week. I cannot. I am sorry, I
No
can't do it.
kids. No.
When I was 20 years younger, sure, I was a madman.
Mhm.
But I didn't have a child. I didn't have kids. I was that single guy that was just alpha, getting it done
Yeah.
type of scenario. And now I want to actually enjoy life and get things done at a more intellectual level.
Mhm. Yeah, and there are ways to work. One of my things I always tell people is post smarter, not harder, and I teach them how to schedule like 50 posts in a row that have
Mhm.
enough variety and use enough different things that you can plan out your content for 2 months, and then if you wanna pop in with a video post or something, you can, but
Mhm.
you know that you at least have a single image or a carousel going out, 3 times a week or whatever the frequency is for you. And I love doing that because it frees up my mind on some days to not have to think about content and let me
Yeah, you
focus
need to
on the work I'm
recharge,
writing.
definitely.
Yeah.
So tell me about your kind of content strategy. I have one as well. I would love to maybe spend just a few minutes on that
Mhm.
since it's a communication point.
Yeah, I think when I started, I tried to do a little bit too much deep education in my work, and what
Hmm.
I've learned is that now my content strategy is more about giving people a taste of what it's like to work with me or enter my world,
Right.
and enough that they're like, "Wow, that was a really valuable bite.
Hmm.
I want the whole sandwich." And then I just basically tell them how to get there. I really rarely cold pitch people.
Hmm.
I just try to be, honest,
Hmm.
helpful, and consistent. That's really all I can do,
That's
and
a good
people love
foundation,
it.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's a good foundation for any kind of business or personal relationship.
Mhm.
You know, I always say that how I got into this whole LinkedIn business really out of a need. So I had
Mhm.
an IT company um, previously, and it was called ISO Interactive. We did a lot of Fortune 500 company type of work, Xbox, Coca Cola, movie releases. We even built a Harry Potter virtual world on our
Cool.
own dime. Yeah, we had like 100,000 of the Harry Potter kids in it and stuff like that, and they would break the server, and so
Oh,
it was a gaming. We did a virtual world but we loved it, and yeah, it was a really great experience to kind of express those things out. But sorry, I'm going off on tangent. So when you're creating content and you teach people how to create content 60 days ahead,
mhm.
give me the gist of that.
So I like to think about content as part of an evergreen strategy,
Mhm.
where I usually start with research and I will look and see what are the questions people are asking that have not been answered. And
Mhm.
then maybe I'll answer that question 3 different ways. I'll answer it
Mhm.
in a single image carousel, or I'll answer it in a single image post, I'll answer it in a carousel, and I'll answer it in a video. And I'll
So
space
the
those
same
out.
answer but different language
Yeah, in
and
different
different media
formats.
media as well.
Right, because some people learn better from video, some people learn better from, carousels, however, you just wanna repackage the helpful information 3 different ways,
Mm,
because
okay.
your followers don't see all of your posts, and if you space it out enough, it's not really repetitive, especially if you get a little creative with your headline or whatever,
Mhm.
but what I really try
Well,
to
the content's actually different, you know?
yeah, yeah,
So it's not really same I mean, how many different messages can you really get out there, you know?
mhm,
Again, what you're saying is you give them a bit of taste.
mhm,
So you have one idea and you multiply it by 3.
mhm.
Great tip there.
Mhm. Or I'll solve it from multiple verticals. Like I might say,
Mhm.
like, here's how I would create a content calendar if I was an artist. Here's how I
Mhm.
would create a content calendar if I was a coach.
Mhm.
And so you can answer the question for different people who have different
Mm.
needs. Like I have different stuff for parents, different stuff for older people. So different people need different answers to the same question, but they're all searching the same question. So when they search for the answer, they're going to find me.
Right,
I'm
right.
always optimizing for search, whether it's on social or not, because everything's a search engine. And you want to be
Mhm.
asking yourself, where is a person at when they're looking for the solutions that I have and meet them right there.
Right. And I guess the other method is if you're constantly providing helpful content, and they're looking for whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to be top of mind.
Mhm.
He said that is my go-to person, for that. You had a keyword that came up, and it was evergreen.
Mhm.
So tell me how you evergreen your material.
Well, I do enjoy writing trend content, and so obviously that's not evergreen.
Mhm.
So I'll separate that from the evergreen stuff. So I
Mhm.
enjoy saying like, here's the latest Instagram feature that they just dropped. Here's how I'm going to use it. But I also like to take a step back and think, what are the tried and true timeless things that are still relevant today? I just recently made a post about how people forget how powerful a flyer can be if you're a hyper local business,
Mhm.
because everyone thinks about the internet as the only place to market. But bringing up the fact that good flyer design and making sure to get your flyer in enough places, I mean, that's pretty much always going to be true.
Mhm.
So when I think of evergreen, I
You
try
know,
to
that's interesting. When we were doing a virtual world, and we did like 15 something kid virtual worlds, multi-user type stuff, and I had to meet with we pair up with other teams, right? The client has a team and all that. So we're up in, God, I don't know, Nebraska, somewhere I never been before, right? And so we're talking to the team over there, and one of the top designers says, we're at a restaurant. This is a terrible flyer or menu. It was menu flyer, they're kind
Mhm,
of the same thing. And I looked at him and I said, no, it's perfect for the purpose. And so it made me think that, it made us, he said, you're right.
mhm,
And so sometimes things don't have to be designed perfectly. They have to be designed for that particular audience.
mhm,
And things like flyers are so important. And
mhm,
so it's also important not to get fancy.
mhm.
Why do you want to get all fancy and glossy if it's just a flyer for a physical business?
Or
Those are,
or people redesign everything from the ground up every time. It's like,
oh
use
yeah.
the same colors, use the same fonts, use the same elements over and over again. Stop redesigning from the ground up every time. Like, if I have a Facebook ad that works, I turn that into a flyer. I do
Hmm.
not, I resize it and move some stuff around, but I don't redesign it.
Yeah, why do we want to waste the time? You have
You
a
don't have
finite amount of time during the day.
to. Mhm,
Even my clients, I have like a done for you for all your LinkedIn business stuff or whatever. And some of these guys are like 4, 5, 6 hours a day on LinkedIn. I
mhm,
said, how are you going to run your business?
mhm,
I said, you need, like, if you have a partner, someone like me that does some of these things for you, you want to reduce your time, and the time that you are using, you want to add that personalization.
mhm,
Like, how can I reduce my time the most, but the time that I have to be the most valuable to my audience,
mhm,
And I see as personalization as one of them. And that goes to the kind of the third area that we talked about is I know that you're getting a lot of a spam email as well as LinkedIn DMs and stuff
mhm,
like that. And I don't know if people realize what the word authentic means,
mhm,
and I think that there's a lot of people um, that think that helping someone is selling their crap. It is not. That's not what it is.
Well,
Um,
yeah, or, like, people will send this clear form email that's like, "I don't normally do this, but I was wondering if I could set up 15 minutes with you," and it's like, "You
I don't
don't
normally
normally
do
do this?"
this.
It's like, "Yes,
Little
you
bougie,
do."
little what do they say? A little bougie.
Yeah. It's like, you
Sorry,
just did.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. This is my bad habit. I don't do any drugs,
Mhm.
so I get Mountain Dew. It's probably the worst thing for you, but
I won't
I'm
judge you
doing
for it.
it. Sorry. So
Live your life. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we could talk all day about, I would say, best practices and worst practices for cold outreach, because there's so much bad outreach these days. It's like a swarm of mosquitoes out there.
yeah, let's talk about it. It's all about communicating authentically. So
Mhm,
if you want to go off on that and maybe take a better approach, I have a few ideas myself, but I would love to hear if you are reaching out to someone. What are the approaches that actually convert into building relationships?
I think the most important thing is that I see people who will write me like 3 paragraphs as a first LinkedIn message as
Yeah,
soon as
no,
I
I call
accept
those
their connection.
novels.
Yeah, and it's like, do you realize how much you're asking of me to read and consider and process all of this and then click your link and look at your stuff and then book a link? Like, that's like you just walked up to me and like, if you're selling hamburgers, you just put a hamburger in my mouth. It's like, stop. Like, first of all, ask
Yeah,
me.
what if you're a vegan?
Right.
Shut
Or
it
well,
out.
and I think I told you this, 90% of the time they're selling me the services that I provide.
They
I'm
don't
like, "Did
even
you
look at your
even look at my
profile.
website?" Like, you didn't
Yeah,
even look. And so,
yeah, I got a couple of those.
so what I will do is I will pick an extreme niche. Like recently, there's a type of person who's called a partner surrogate, and they do,
I'm sorry, say
like
that again.
it's called partner surrogacy, and
Okay.
they provide, I would say, legal touch-based services that are prescribed by a therapist to help people recover from like sexual trauma and stuff like that. Super,
Okay.
super, super niche. But
Uh-huh.
I know a handful of these people personally, and so I know where they get certified. So I go to the certification page and I find all the certified partner surrogates, and I go to
Mhm,
all their websites and
mhm,
I pick out the ones who have bad websites and I
mhm,
send them a message that has no pressure, no ask of them at all. I just say, "Hey, I really believe in partner surrogacy work, and I think what you're doing is super cool. I'm just curious, is your website getting you the results that you want? If
mhm.
not, I'd love to chat with you about how I can help improve your SEO." It's like 3 sentences, super, super low key,
Mm,
not saying like, "Hey, I noticed your website sucks." It's like, "Are you getting the
yeah.
results you want?
So it
If not,
does suck,
like
but you
this."
just don't want to tell them
Right.
directly. Yeah, that's one of the problems that I have because of my type A traits. As a programmer and an software architect, um, clients hire me for me being honest,
Mhm,
and it's good for them. It's not good for meeting people at all, right?
mhm,
And so you need to have that communication strategy to use that amount of tact
mhm,
and to be very short in that conversation. So what you're saying is that this information is relevant to me
mhm.
specifically. It's short enough to absorb in 5 seconds, and I already know my site sucks.
Mhm,
So he's kind of right. Maybe it doesn't get the results. There's a good chance that
mhm.
it doesn't get the results that I want, and it makes sense for me to reach out to you. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
get it.
and for me, the authenticity is that I truly do believe in partner surrogacy as a therapy for people, and I don't think enough people know about it, so I wanna help raise partner surrogacy as a concept on the internet, and I know nobody's searching for it, nobody's talking about it, so that's a
Mm,
perfect space where I have passion for it, and I know I can
mm.
help. People
So
who
the
are just
riches are in the niches.
right, and so follow your
Wow.
passions. Like, if I really cared about fiber arts, I would contact custom yarn makers, you know? But I
Mhm.
don't, so I don't wanna work on their websites. But partner surrogates are fun, especially because you have to, work on, like, how do you advertise without,
But you
flagging.
have an in-depth knowledge and personal experience
Mhm.
that's really relatable. It's not
Right,
you're
and
not
they
selling
also
something you don't do, that you don't believe in, that you haven't lived through. So
and some
there's that emotional relationship, and that there's a potential for that bond to come
mhm.
together with that individual that you're talking to. Yeah.
Right, and something that I know that those people appreciate is they don't have to explain what they do to me because I'm
Mhm.
already educated, and I've already
Right.
demonstrated that in 1 sentence. I think partner surrogacy is an important line of work, and I wanna help elevate it. Like,
Mhm.
already saying what you do matters, and I believe in it, and really feeling that, I think is a great way to connect with people.
Oh, someone made a good point in the chat. Someone says telling someone their website sucks is like telling them their baby is ugly.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, some people really put a
You
lot of
know,
time into
the
these.
flip side of that is if you have an ugly baby, they end up being very good looking later. That's what
Yes.
I've seen. I've seen some bitches like I was dating someone. I said, "Oh my goodness, you are an ugly baby." I saw her
Mhm.
baby. I said, "Wow, you've improved quite a bit." But I'm just being like facetious. But
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah, you
Mhm.
don't want to tell anyone's baby's ugly. So the raw
Yeah.
truth is not. you know.
And that's why I like the question of, are you getting the results that you want?
Mhm.
And sometimes I can even say, are you getting the results you want out of your marketing strategy? And they might be like, well, I love my website, but I have no clue what to do on social media, or I feel
Mhm.
confident on social, but I get no
It
traffic.
opens doors in other ancillary areas of your expertise.
Right.
That goes along with partners too, because some people will come to me and they'll say da 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 marketing, right?
Hmm.
So I'm specifically on accelerating on LinkedIn, but
Hmm.
I'm not a YouTube expert or whatever,
Hmm.
right? But I have YouTube experts I'm working with right now. I went from 15 followers to 1,000 in a week and a half. So they
Wow.
obviously know what they're doing, right?
Hmm.
And so, but I couldn't solve that problem, you know.
Hmm.
But if someone says I need help on my YouTube stuff, at least I can properly give them to the right person.
Hmm.
And then I don't understand why people don't build these partnerships up in a way where it makes sense. Because if you're smart, you say, okay, I'm doing A, B, and C, and
Hmm.
this is my wheelhouse. But I may not do email optimization. I may
Hmm.
not do this. I know it very well, but I don't want to unsimplify my simple process. Although
Hmm.
my process is not simple, it's simple to the client,
Right.
right? And so if I branch off to this, I become a flea market. And I don't want to become a flea market. I want to become a helpful resource. And when I hand this person to this other service, guess what? I probably make money off of it too.
Hmm.
Because if you
And
have a partnership, you're getting like 20% or whatever the arrangement is.
mhm.
So you're going to hand off the right client to someone that you trust, and it's a win-win situation. So I
Mhm,
think a lot of people, when they're thinking about business, having that level of being authentic and saying, how can I best help them,
mhm,
doesn't mean that you cannot make a profit out of it.
mhm. Yeah, it's been a terrible experience for me when a salesperson is really aggressive and is inaccurate on the sales call, and I buy something. Now that the salesperson was just trying to sell me something that wasn't even the right fit for me. Like, that
Mm.
happened with my accounting software, and I'm still disentangling myself from that. It's been a whole nightmare. So yeah, being it's trying to sell to people who are not the right fit is not the move. It's just gonna lead to them being dissatisfied and telling everyone how dissatisfied they
Well,
are.
your money should be in your long-term relationship. So if
Mhm.
you're thinking short-term, or if you pick up the wrong client, it could be a nightmare.
Oh my
Think
god,
think
yeah.
about this: the wrong client comes up, and say you are the right service for the wrong client,
Mhm,
and you're helping this individual, and you went through your checks and balances, but some people get through that
mhm,
vetting process, and they end up being like very distant, like not a good person.
mhm,
And all of a sudden, you did this work, and they do a refund. They whether they fight your credit card, pay whatever it is they pay, and then you have a ding on your processor.
mhm,
You have money that was given, now it's taken out, and then you have someone bad mouthing you.
mhm,
And so you really have to figure out, am I communicating the fact that I'm the right fit for this person, or do I have processes in place to kind of vet the relationship, you
mhm,
know? And I learned my lesson, and I couldn't have, on one end, I couldn't have figured it out.
mhm,
Sometimes you can't do anything, but on the other end, it was my fault because I took the client, and number two, my agreements were not set up for my protection, you
mhm,
know. So I separated the initial setup as consultation, and then the monthly was a separate contract. So that was a big mistake. I needed to create an agreement that required a signature from day one. And because
mhm,
I didn't do that, I got burned. And
mhm,
so I always think it's really good to try to find clients, friends, and partners that are like minded, you know?
mhm. Right, and a referral is often already a qualified client if it's coming from someone you already love to work with. Like, I just got referred to this woman for, SEO copywriting for
Mhm.
someone I already do SEO copywriting for,
Mhm.
and because they already it's like, it's like
Yeah, a
having
friend
a
of a friend. If someone is tooting your horn,
mhm,
it's 10 times more valuable than you tooting your own horn.
mhm,
It's come
and
from a
if they're
trusted resource.
And I can trust that that's a qualified lead as opposed to just contacting anyone on the internet who could be anyone. But it's like if this lead is referred to me, then I
Mhm.
know they at least have passed through this other person I like's filter. But
Yeah.
part of how I do that is similar to you, checks and balances. I have my qualifying call where I'll really listen to myself and say, am I getting any like tiny red flags here? Like is something like off during that qualifying call? And then I always do a tiny first project if possible, super small,
Mhm.
like really small deliverable. If that goes well, then I have them sign a contract on a larger project, but I never enter into a big agreement with someone if I don't know them.
Right, right. Yeah, I had a meeting with a potential client today. He was really hard to read, but some people are just like he had poker face.
Hmm.
He goes, all right, well, I just need to know how much the thing costs at the end, And he seemed like a great guy, but sometimes you just have to know the personality
Hmm.
of who you're dealing with.
Right. Like I don't work
And
with people who are too urgent because that stresses me out.
oh yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, awesome. Um, yeah. Oh, all right. So, are there any other areas to become more authentic? How and to define that? So this is how I define it. I say, how do I provide value to that individual?
Hmm.
It's not what I think is valuable; it's what is valuable to them. And so, for me, it's usually just solving a problem or lessening their pain, regardless of reward. You know.
Hmm. Well, I guess a strategy I have for sort of establishing myself as an authentic person in that way is I'll go to really popular LinkedIn posts or Instagram comments or whatever, and I'll pay attention to who's asking questions in the comments. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'll answer their question in that thread, and that person will contact me and say, "Oh my gosh, thanks so much. You were totally right. That little tip you had was great. Can I hire you to do XYZ?" And so
Oh,
I think being genuinely curious and genuinely helpful, like when I ask people questions on a sales call, it's not because it is partly because I'm trying to qualify them, but it's not like when people ask you questions and they're just about to sell you on something like,
mhm.
"Hey, are you an agency owner making over 3K a month?" It's like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
ask me that, I know you're about
A
to
little
pitch me.
disingenuine, yeah,
Right.
disingenuine
Oh,
versus trying to qualify or disqualify.
mhm.
I think it's okay to disqualify,
It's very okay. It's
because
important.
if someone says, I said, oh yeah, this doesn't work on this platform that well works reverse. So
Mhm,
I probably wouldn't be a good fit. No, because I need this. I said, no, you're not hearing me because you're targeting companies over 1,000, like I'm just making it up, 1,000
mhm,
employees. Those people don't respond on LinkedIn typically. They only use LinkedIn to check you out on
mhm,
reverse to see if you're legit. But to reach out to them, you have to have a different strategy. You
mhm,
have to maybe target the person that supports that, and it's more of a longer journey,
mhm,
relationship building. So there's a whole different strategy. And um, I learned pretty quickly not to take on clients that says, "Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing," and I already know that. I already know what they're doing.
mhm.
I know it's not going to work.
Right.
So it's like hot potato because it's like you can come back to you in a very negative way. So yeah, so be honest. Work with people that make sense. And the tip that you gave was great. I call that pre-engagement. So
Mm,
I have a daily process. This is specifically for business on LinkedIn, and they can pick what's the most important thing to do that day. And one of the things is pre-engagement. So you're looking at posts, and I don't know about other social media too much. I'm mainly LinkedIn. I do like an 80-20. My Instagram is not even that popular, but I just do it because I love posting on Instagram certain bits of information. But um, um, pre-engagement is when you say, you know what, I'm targeting, say, 5 people a week, 5 people a day, whatever it is, right? I have a personal agenda. You may have some automation. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Um, but you may, want to see what they're talking about, respond to them like you're saying,
mhm,
ask them a question or give them a hint or a clue, and that opens the door for building that relationship. And a lot of times people will do that before they send a connection invite
mhm,
because that they replied back to, whether it's the person who posted it or someone in the comments are posting. If you want to reach out to them, you have a frame of reference to speak of. Oh yeah, we did talk about this on this post. I did appreciate your comment. Love to connect if it makes sense. And that will boost your, I don't know, your 30% acceptance rate to 85.
Mm-hmm.
And that will
because
also
you've demonstrated you're a real person and not just an automation.
Yeah. Speaking of automation, you wanted to talk about that, and that was one of the areas as well.
Yeah, I would say the simplest thing that I do is for anything I do a lot. Like I go on a lot of podcasts, and so I have a document where all of the questions they're going to ask me in the forum, it's already right here, and I can just copy and paste. So that's like the most manual form of automation. But I would say I automate a lot of my content, and use like
I find that's going to be very hard to do.
No, it's super easy. I use a tool called Metricool, and if I post it on one platform, it's on every platform. And I can see, like, my Pinterest views have been going through the roof, reposting my Instagram stuff there. I just post it once and it goes everywhere. So that to me adds to my omnipresence, which is a whole other topic.
Oh, I get what you're saying. So that's like a Hootsuite type of.
It's like
that's a software that you can write at one place and it distributes to multiple areas. Right?
But I would argue it's the most cost-effective and good platform.
So I invite you to add that link in the chat after. I don't know if you add it here, it won't get to there. So you might want to go to my live afterwards and to add that information. And by the way, we've already added information to you about their creative workshop. So you have a Zoom registration on that. So tell us about that.
I'm going to click on that link because I don't actually know what that is.
Oh, really?
I don't know. No, I think that's somebody else's link.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Who sent that?
I'll put the link up for you.
Oh yeah, ignore that.
Let's see.
I didn't post. Oh, Lisa posted it. Lisa, wrong link.
I forgive you. See, here we go. We're publicly failing and we're going to live, and that's okay.
I was like, why is a Zoom? Oh, maybe it's like a booking Zoom thing.
Let's see. Can I put it here? I don't really know how Restream works well enough, but we'll
yeah, just go on the replay, go back and just add it there on there for your thing.
But so the link I have it's called the Magical Weirdo Community, and it's a really affordable community. It's $37 to get in. You get a t-shirt and you get 3 months of group coaching with me.
Oh, t-shirt's such a great idea.
It's great.
I have a community coming out too. I'm taking that idea.
The t-shirt says I support weird local businesses.
Oh, nice.
Because those are the people in the community. And what's great about the community is not only do I offer group coaching where I teach you step by step how to automate your content, how to write your content, how to do email marketing, just basically everything about customer communication, how to remove the friction from it so it's as easy as possible. And the biggest friction is always overthinking. So I try to provide resources and templates so that you don't have to second guess yourself. But it also includes a brainstorming chat where if you have something you're working on, you can send it to the other magical weirdos and say, what do you guys think about this? Can you test my links? Can you give me feedback on my copy? And so then other people who are kind of different or trying to do something different can brainstorm with you to come up with solutions without trying to expect you to be like closer to the mainstream, I guess. We're just trying to do different things out there. We're kind of on the edge. We're trying new things. We're experimenting.
A lot of concepts start at micro businesses and then they blow up, and so if you have a unique idea, you don't have to take it to, like, for example, Uber had to have a huge infrastructure. This is not that kind of thing.
No.
This is how do I create this unique idea that communicates this business concept and that's needed in that arena. And if it works out well, it will grow, and then some people don't want businesses to grow, but so much. I can't take on more than two of my done for you, my main clients a month anyway, so the community is always a great idea. So they pay $37 a month.
And they get a shirt and 3 months of group coaching.
So why 37 instead of 39?
I've just heard 7s tend to convert, so I was testing it out.
Because
I heard 27 and 37 both convert more than ones that end in 9, and there's no difference between 27 and 37 for conversions, so I just decided to go for 37. But really,
Oh,
it's a
I learned
self-liquidating
something
process.
today, Chuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a T-shirt together for Milo. I have a community coming up
Mhm,
too, and I'm really excited because what I wanted to do was I wanted to help people that couldn't really pay the top tier service.
mhm,
How can I provide value? And I tried to do that for consulting and all that. It was a little dicey,
mhm,
because even my per hour is a lot more than what people would think.
mhm.
Like I charge 350 an hour for like real consultation,
Right.
and I said, you know what? They don't have that. A lot of people don't understand like the years and years and years of experience, and they need a specific answer to fix their problem for them to generate revenue. That's what it really comes down to, right? And so I said, but I think 39, well, now $37 would be a good thing. I said, I have about $1,000 of courses out. So, and I'm giving you an idea.
Mhm,
So I have it out on another site. I said, you know what? Let me repurpose those courses, rebrand them a little bit, and start with that. And give them 1,000 or 50, whatever that amount of courses, like 100 something videos in 3 different courses. Let me give those out for that 37 bucks. Why not? It's not like I'm making a lot of money on it anyway, and it's a no-brainer, and we have, imagine you have a private group. So what's the platform for the group?
so I host it on Circle, which I like, because it has a chat room and, you can do live calls and you can do, like, forum style stuff.
Mm,
But the strategy I'm trying is I'm actually warming up this community for my higher ticket courses.
of course, yes.
So
Good point.
I put some courses out and everybody told me they were too dense. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to make these a little bit more spaced out, offer them like some people only need one of these three things, so chunk them up.
Hmm.
Um, and then uh, what was I going to say? Yeah, so basically, it allows people to get access to me so that they can start to ask me questions and warm up for consultation.
Hmm.
Um, but oh no, it keeps falling out of my brain. I'm sorry,
That's
ADHD.
okay. It's been a weird week, man. I'm telling
Yeah,
you. It's
there's
been
something about. Well, one is that people tend to do affiliate work for me and tell people about the community because they're excited about it.
uh
Um, but gosh, what was it? I sell my done for you services through it.
Yeah, so you want to have happy people that are open to be helped beyond what you're doing in there. So in my
Mhm,
community, I think that they're running kind of parallel. I mean, they're totally different. Mine is specifically on how to rock on LinkedIn.
mhm,
Mine's called the Now Society, right? And we came up with the name because people need help now.
mhm,
They have a problem right now they need to fix on LinkedIn. I don't know how to freaking use Sales Navigator. It's just
mhm,
something I'm just making stuff up. Um, why aren't my DMs converting? What's wrong with my LinkedIn profile page?
mhm,
How do I get two-way traffic and all that? And so we create that brand right around that. But we're not going to use Circle. We're just going to use Facebook and a LinkedIn
mhm.
a LinkedIn group. So they already have like 500. She has 500. I have 500 on mine,
Oh, great.
and so we had that private group.
Mhm,
And so I figure when people are asking questions to you, or in my group, they would ask it to me, and I have a partner with it that's also an expert. Um, they can get those solutions right away, and then it's that tier. And then every month, and this is maybe idea for you, we have a new course coming up. So we have
mhm,
all the courses that we had already, but we have a long list of stuff:
mhm,
business, life, LinkedIn, leadership. And
mhm,
so those things come hand in hand when you're converting into something that's not just financially successful, but I hate to use the term work life balance. I
mhm,
don't know if there's a better term for that, but you have to have a level of happiness in what you're doing,
mhm,
and you also have to have a level of separation so you can do what you want. So sometimes they're mixed a little bit, but sometimes they're completely separated. So for
mhm,
example, time with your daughter, um, it's kind of hard to incorporate that in a lot of business. There might be some overlap because family and communication and stuff like that. but there's also times that you want to totally separate your private life too. So
Hmm.
I think a lot of solopreneurs are looking for the things that you're talking about.
Hmm. Well, and the more that's part of what I'm trying to do in Magical Weirdo is show people how simple it is to start automating, even
That's
just in little
interesting.
ways.
Magical weirdo.
Yeah, my a friend of mine helped me. I couldn't think of. I was like, "What's my niche? What's my niche? What do they call themselves?" And someone was like, "Oh, you help magical weirdos." And I was like, "That's exactly who I help." And so I decided to call the community that. But basically, there's so many people who are in like the healing space or the art space, and they
Yeah.
don't really think about automation and business because it just
Mhm.
seems so far above them. But I offer really, really simple templates and tutorials for how to get started because that is such a time suck for so many people, that and second guessing themselves, that I just want to remove that barrier so that they can get their incredible art, their incredible work into the world without having to like trip over all of the things that it takes to run a business. Because it's really hard to learn, and there's so many people trying to give you advice. Sometimes you
Yeah.
just need to
And
like
they
follow.
accidentally start reinventing the wheel every time, like you mentioned
Yeah.
before. Like I got to
Hmm.
start from scratch, and there's some things that just work well, you know. And for example, if you have an assistant, right? They're
Hmm.
not expensive. They're not really that expensive,
Hmm.
but they don't know what they don't know. And
Hmm.
so, what's that gap? That gap is having an SOP, a training manual.
Hmm.
So how can I easily create a training manual to train that VA to do some of these tasks? And that's
Hmm.
a form of automation
Hmm.
in a basic sense. Yeah.
Right. Or like, I was telling you I can make, 60 Canva posts in an hour, but I do need my assistant to go through and make sure that all the text is aligned properly and nothing's like going off the side, and,
Mhm,
maybe change the color scheme for each one so that they don't all look the same.
mhm.
So it's a mixture
All
of
right. Did
like,
you say you can produce 60 an hour?
yes.
That sounds like magical weirdo stuff.
I mean, so my background, I actually have a computer science degree. So I'm really, really good with computers. And
Uh,
so a lot of my creative problem solving does use technology. And part of what I love is I test every AI tool that comes out. I test every content tool that
mm,
comes out. I will get affiliate links for the ones that I like. I will talk shit about the ones I don't like
mm.
on TikTok to start drama. Like there's all kinds of stuff you can do.
So
One of the
what's your
things.
main platform?
Oof, it's shifting. It was Instagram.
Mhm.
Instagram is kind of not so great these days. And YouTube is paired with Google, and with me having such a heavy focus on searchability, YouTube kind of makes sense for me to move to, especially because you can do text and image posts on YouTube now.
You can?
Yes, you can do text, image, and video, and it's searchable. So I don't know why I would
You
do
know,
anything
I'll hook you up with my guy that does my YouTube stuff and have you had a conversation with him because
I'd love to.
he's figured a way to like boost it up. And
That'd be
he was
great.
saying that the most content is like on LinkedIn, it's like 40 seconds to a minute and a half, something like that, right?
Mhm.
For the video content anyway, right? Carousels are really good, polls are really good. You can't do carousels and polls on other platforms. Well, Instagram you can do individual images, but um,
You can do them now on TikTok and YouTube. People just don't know
you
about it
can
yet.
do PDF slides.
They're not PDFs, but they are slides. They're just PNGs instead of PDFs.
Get out of here! I'm learning so much from you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just so fun to stay
yeah,
stay on top of this stuff. For some reason,
yeah,
I love it.
yeah. And he was telling me, well, for YouTube, the video length is like around 10 minutes that are the sweet spot. So every
Mhm,
platform has a sweet spot of what
mhm.
I said. I don't have anything 10 minutes. My stuff is like a minute and a half or an hour.
But I'm streaming this on my YouTube, and this is going to be an hour-long piece of content on my
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Mhm,
Yeah, yeah. We're using Restream, everyone. If you don't
mhm,
know, so I have three platforms on mine, and you tied in three as well,
mhm.
or yeah,
Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
yeah, yeah. So we have six platforms going on at one time. So when I look at my live, I see like 15 on my live right now, but that doesn't include the replay. I
Mhm,
usually get about 1,000 views on just my replay, and
mhm,
then on yours. So it's great to kind of, and this is a form of automation as well. You
mhm.
know,
And I can chop it up, or we could even post this on a podcasting platform if we wanted to. Like, there's just so many ways to repurpose what you already have.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, is there first of all, I would say thank you. And second, I would say, how do they get contact with you? Do they just go to your LinkedIn profile? Is there a special link that you would want them to do? And definitely add it right after this chat.
I would say probably the easiest way to get a hold of me if you want to talk about working together is to go to identitypending.com. And right up front, there's a link for you to hit to book a planning call with me. Otherwise, my social handle is Magical Weirdo Chuck pretty much everywhere. So if you look
Is
for
it
Magical Weirdo Chuck on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you'll find me.
Magical Weirdo Chuck?
That's
That
me.
is fairly easy to remember. Yeah.
That's the hope.
When I say people to find me, I'm Troy Hippolito. And if they usually can't spell it,
Yeah.
I blame my father because he's Filipino. I was like,
Yeah.
God. And when I was
People
little,
struggle with Copenspire too, so that's why Magical Weirdo Chuck. It's like weird enough. That's always been my
yeah,
kind of my
yeah,
bet is like if I'm weird and memorable, I'll be memorable.
that is true. That's true. That's true. So do you have any last words or anything else that you would like to talk about before we drop off?
The other time-saving tip, which I remembered now I wanted to share earlier, is anytime you have to answer a question that is a very long answer via email, turn it into a blog post and link to that blog post in your email. And then anytime anyone asks you that question again in the future, you have a searchable resource that other people can find, and you don't have to write it over and over again. So just think
Wow,
about
that's
ways.
a great tip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then now you're searchable. That's great.
yeah, yeah. I apply some of that, but not in exactly that form. So I've learned about 3 new things today. So it's awesome having you on the show. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Chuck, for all of your advice on being human and understanding that you don't have to do everything yourself. And love the name Magical Weirdo. And if anyone else wants to find Chuck, look for any platform, Magical Weirdo Chuck, and you should be able to find them. All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Troy. I really appreciated coming on today.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
All right, bye for now.
Bye.